This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 412 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time, and today's tip is brought to you by Equestrian Collections. For the entire universe of equestrian shopping at your fingertips at a price you can afford. Howdy everybody, Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. Well, today we have back with us Shawna Karrasch. I absolutely love speaking to Shawna. She is known as the Clicker Lady, or the person who developed the target or the training method called on-target training. It is used by professionals and Olympic caliber riders as well as amateur riders around the world. And it's a reinforcement training system that dramatically accelerates the training process for any breed or any discipline by unlocking the horse's natural desire to perform. And Shawna is an excellent representative of this, and she explains it so well, and that's why we love having her here on Horse Tip Daily. And as always, you can hear her past tips at horsetipdaily.com. And she's going to be sharing some more knowledge with us today, right after these words from Equestrian Collections. Equestrian Collections brings the whole universe of equestrian shopping to your fingertips at a price you can afford. You normally think of Equestrian Collections when it's time for a new wardrobe. Well, there is so much more than just a clothing provider. Equestrian Collections also carries a complete line of spring grooming tools, including Oster clippers, brushes, shampoos, rain and fly sheets, and so much more at equestriancollections.com. Well, hi, Shawna, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily.
Hi, Glenn. Nice to be here.
We are always pleased to have you on. It's always fascinating. You come up with completely different stuff every time, and that's what makes it fun. So what are we talking about today?
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about, as I'm kind of a positive reinforcement-based trainer, but it doesn't really matter if you're positive reinforcement-based or not, but not to take our horses for granted, the things that they do well, to not take those for granted. So, and where I think about this is I have a young, horse coming along and bringing him and teaching him so much. So new topics keep coming up that remind me, like, oh yeah, don't forget about that. So like just the other day I was riding him up the hill, and I have a tendency to focus on, tasks that we're doing, things that I need him to improve on, so I think, oh, he needs to be better about his transition, so I work on that, or he needs to be better about spooking, so I work on that. But I was just walking up the hill, and he's walking up nice, and his head was just nice and quiet, and so I clicked and reinforced him and told him, tried to tell him he was doing a good job when it's something that he always does well. And I think it's really important to stop when they're doing what they already do well, to sometimes just reinforce that and tell them, I appreciate what you're doing. I think it also helps to keep them from getting a sense of entitlement or a certain expectation. When we're working through a particular issue, they go, okay, these are dynamics, this is what we're going to do. But sometimes when you just surprise them out of the blue and go, that was really good, and I appreciate that, I think it keeps them on their toes a little bit more, so they never really know when they might get reinforced, and keeps them trying harder.
And isn't that what you did all the time, basically, with at SeaWorld, is you were constantly reinforcing them every time they did something well?
Yes, and one of the things, though, that I think is really important, a lot of times people think that we reinforce everything that they do, and a lot of times we blow the whistle, or it's like the clicker, it tells them, yes, what you're doing right now is correct. They come back to the stage, and what we would do instead of, we wouldn't always feed them as a reinforcement. Sometimes we'd just give them another behavior to do, or we'd kind of rub their fins or something. So but it was all based in the positive reinforcement. But what I find is a little different with the horses is we're utilizing traditional horse training, or I'm using anyway, traditional horse training with the positive reinforcement. So while I may teach something like a, flying lead change using, a clicker to tell them, yes, that was exactly what I'm looking for as soon as the weight shifts and the things like that. But eventually I want to just have nice canter transitions or flying lead changes without having, I just wanted to be traditional, to respond to traditional aids and to do it without having to go, but I'll feed you every time you do it, So as you wean them, as you use the little steps to train them, you want to wean them away from those being reliant on those things. So I think sometimes when you mix it up more, it helps to keep them kind of not really knowing when it's going to come in and to break up that expectation.
Okay, that
That
makes
makes
a
sense?
lot of, yeah, it makes a lot of sense actually. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Good. So don't forget to reward the little things occasionally. The things
Exactly.
the things that they do know how to do.
Exactly. Just
Yeah.
not to take them for granted. Just sometimes go, you know what? That was really good, and I appreciate that.
All right, great. And if you
And do
wanna,
that to our husbands too.
I was just going to say that, actually. I was just going to say that also applies to horse husbands. We like to be rewarded for anything we do, actually, especially if it involves cleaning stalls and putting horses out and chipping out ice buckets. And I could go on. Fixing
Yes, you could.
fences and remember, we married into this. Keep that in mind, everybody. We married into it, and the only reason we married into it is because we like you. We didn't marry into it because we like the horses. Now that may come with time, but keep in mind the original reason. So now I got my 2 cents in too. So and you know what? If you can use the clicker on us, as long as you feed us every time, we will be perfectly happy.
So just keep snacks ready.
It's askshawna.com for more information about all of her training and everything that we're talking about here today. Just go to askshawna.com. Thanks again to Shawna for joining us on a regular basis and for putting up with me. Both of those things. Thank all the experts for putting up with me. I think that, and thank you, the listeners, for putting up with me. I think that's the hardest part, actually. We'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone.
The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.